Welcome, everybody, to our first Center of Love gathering here in the Lower Mainland. Thank you all for being here. My name is Laura.
I'm Kate.
I'm Alex.
And Alex and I live here on this property. And when we saw this place, we knew that we were going to do something really cool here. Lots of really cool things, let's say. And so Alex and I have always had it on our heart to gather people through spirit, through a connection of love. And so we've been exploring what that has meant for us prior to moving here. And then when we moved here, we knew that we were called. And so our beautiful friend Tara has been attending Center of Love in Victoria, founded by Oliver Belisle, who is our speaker here today. And she invited us to join on Zoom and suggested, you know what, your place would be amazing for Center of Love. And that's how we have come to be here today. Center of Love, Oliver will share more, I believe, about Center of Love today, but it's about, okay, well, whatever you're going to talk about. It's really about centering love in our lives and all that we do. We don't need to agree on everything. We don't need to be like-minded, but we're like-hearted. We lead with love in our lives. We believe that everyone is both a teacher and a student, and we're just open to the possibilities. So thank you all for being here, and I'll pass it to Kate.
Oh, hello. So I feel super honored to be here with all of you guys, and I want to share a little bit about kind of my journey back to here. But 15 years ago, I created small gatherings that were about spirituality and bringing women together in community. And actually, Gail, who's here today, was at the very first one. And so there's something sacred that I feel like the universe is like intentionally weaving things back for me. And so I was thinking about that. And I was like, and it's not about like going back to recreate, but it's about picking up a thread that I put down, but was always within me. And so about 2 years ago, I started to feel the call that it was like to shift my focus away from all of them just being about my family to like my soul's path again. And one of those breadcrumbs was taking my course in spiritual direction that I'm doing now. And the other was like a voice in the back of gathering in spiritual community again. And then I mentioned it to Laura and Alex, and they're like, us too. And then they talked about the Center for Love. And so then we got on a Zoom call with Ollie, and just like feels like a beautiful space to anchor in around growth and community and connection. So I'm just honored to be here with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Laura really spoke to a lot about sort of our journey into this. There was a time that we had to put collective elements on hold, which is the thing that we wanted to start here, and then we found this property, and it all of a sudden came back to fruition for us. So our biggest thing is about joining people together and having people be able to find their own gifts and sort of do some self-healing in the inner work, but we don't do that by ourselves. We do that within a village, within a community. So there was the connection of finding this property and becoming stewards of it, and then also just being the stewards of bringing the people together. And when we met Ollie, there was so many synchronicities between what collective elements wanted to be and also what Center of Love is being. So with his speech about time, there's sort of, for us, there's no time like the present. And so we just sort of jumped on board. And so we're giving this a try and a run. And we are so grateful and so happy and honored to have all of you guys here with us. And it really is a special thing to have our kids to be a part of it and to have all of you guys be a part of it. And so thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And I think from all three of us, it really is a beautiful thing. And, we've searched for sort of a community for a bit of time, and we found a really great community within the school that we brought our kids to, which is Waldorf, and that brought us into knowing Kate and Suki and a whole bunch of other really beautiful people, which has really helped us expand our mind on this. And with Tara introducing us to Ollie, and Tara's been such a beautiful gift in our lives, holding a vision very deeply for what Laura and I had wanted to do. So it really is a special thing to be doing this Sunday and having you guys all here, and then doing it every couple of weeks. So I hope to continue to see all of your faces coming back and sharing in the love. So thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, here, our man Ollie.
All right. Whew. There. Oh, boy, oh boy. Well, first and foremost, we always start with gratitude. So I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to Collective Elements for lending us this beautiful space, to Alex, Laura, and Kate for taking the lead on this experiment. And most of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for showing up and participating in this experiment. Now, the experiment in question is called the Center of Love, and it's the world's first disorganized religion. Energized by diversity, unified in love. We're a community of like-hearted individuals who create safe and sacred spaces for the sharing of truth and the practice of deep listening. How does that sound?
Great.
Pretty good? So far, we're on the right path. Every second Sunday, someone from our community gets up here and they assume the role of teacher while the rest of us play the students. And we all take turns doing this. So everyone gets a turn at being a teacher and at being a student. Now, when it's your turn to be the teacher, you come up here and you share something with the community. It could be a message that's really important to you. It could be knowledge that you've acquired about a certain modality or practice, or it can just be a story that is personal. And the point of this is, of course, that we're all bringing a piece of the puzzle to the picture here. We're all contributing something that is unique and valuable and that no one else can supply. So it's really important that people in the community step up and really share their truth. After somebody shares their message, we meditate for about 10 minutes and we grab some coffees, and then we form a circle. And the rest of our time together is spent in deep, meaningful, connecting conversation. So what came up for you during the talk? What experiences of yours parallel the experiences of the story that was told? Whatever came up for you, whatever you want to share, the floor is open. It's a safe space and anyone can speak their truth and be honored. That's the essence of what we do. Our talks range from instructional to informal, from personal to professional. We've had people talk to us about yoga, breath work, EFT tapping. We've had people educate us on common cognitive biases that get in the way of us seeing things clearly, or the Akashic records, if you've ever heard of those, and the importance of knowing thyself, just to name a few topics that we've had at the center. Now, unlike many spiritual communities, our topics are not limited to a certain book or a certain faith tradition or approach. Rather, our community is founded on values and principles that can be found in all traditions. They're universal. So that way, you can bring whatever modality or whatever background you've got, and you're accepted and welcomed and appreciated for your contributions. So that's the gist of it. My name's Oliver, and I'm Ollie to my friends. So everybody here should be calling me Ollie at this point. I am one of the founding members of the Center of Love. I'm also the spiritual coordinator, which means I just make sure that there's speakers booked, and I kind of try to keep it organized so that we have our sessions every second Sunday. And that's the other thing, by the way. Unlike organized religion, we like to give people a Sunday off, right? So that you can actually rest on the seventh day once in a while. So we don't do it every Sunday, but the cool thing is the schedule is such that every Sunday there will be a Center of Love gathering, one in Victoria, and then the following week it'll be the one in West Vancouver. So we'll alternate this way. So you can always tune in on Zoom and see what's happening in Victoria or Vancouver, or you can just take the day off and rest, which is much needed in this crazy, busy world that we live in. So as the spiritual coordinator, that's my job. I just make sure that people are here to speak. And since today I've been asked to speak, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share a story, because that's what I do. I don't preach or teach. I don't have anything to say other than as it relates to my own experiences and my own insights. And so I'm not an authority on anything else. All I have is my truth. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. Now, there's three purposes to this story. Number one, it's going to describe the origin of this community. You're going to find out how the Center of Love came to be. It's going to tell you a little bit about my spiritual origin story. You know how like Peter Parker got bit by a radioactive spider and he got his powers? Well, I have an origin story too, as all of you do as well, I'm sure. And I look forward to hearing your origin stories during the conversation, if you're willing to share. The last thing it's going to do is illustrate the transformative power of possibility. Something that is radical and life-changing, and I didn't know about it until very recently in my life. And by the end of the story, I hope that you'll have a better sense of what this community is about, what it stands for, and whether or not it's for you, because everybody's got their own thing and not everything is going to appeal to everyone. So I want to make sure you folks know what you're getting into before you jump in with both feet. As you'll notice, we're not serving up any Kool-Aid, so that's a good sign, right? First step, looking good. All right. So here's the story. It starts in the spring of 2013, 12 years ago, almost to this day. And I had a profound life-altering experience. Before this experience, and for the 29 years of my life leading up to it, my perspective and attitude were rooted in certainty. I was certain that I knew. Knew what? Well, a lot of things, actually. I knew that God didn't exist. I knew that religion had no value. I knew that human beings never really changed. I mean, superficially maybe, but deep down inside, people don't change. I also knew that happiness is obtained like a trophy through worldly acquisitions and material pursuits. I knew this. I was absolutely certain of it. But then, on this fateful day 12 years ago, everything changed. Everything changed. Now, I'm not going to bore you with all the details. I'm sure many of you have had similar experiences. Anybody ever had a dark night of the soul? Anybody? Yeah, okay. Anybody had like a mystical experience walking through the woods and you realize, oh my God, I am nature.
Every day.
I knew there's at least one, right? So everybody here has probably flirted or touched on similar experiences. But for me, in my case, I was sitting at my desk in my cubicle working, as I was doing every other day. And I was deep in thought. I was contemplating big questions about human nature and the state of the world. And lo and behold, as I was thinking about these questions, answers started to appear in my mind. Like I wasn't thinking about the answers, they were just being presented to me. And I was like, oh, that's weird. So then I would take the answer and I'd ask a follow-up question, and then I'd get another answer. And I kept doing this, driving towards the ultimate answer, like the conclusion of my line of inquiry. And when I got there, it wasn't a word, it wasn't language. It was a vision. I saw it. I didn't hear it. I saw it. It was like the veil got ripped away from me and I saw clearly for the very first time in my life. I felt the truth of the world resonate in my bones and hum in my cells. I was overcome with rapture and a growing wave of ecstasy came over me. I literally started to weep at my desk, weep tears of joy at the beauty and the simplicity of it all. It was amazing. How had I not seen it for the first 29 years of my life? Of course, as I tried to tell people about this experience, I had no words. So part of me was like, did you just lose it? Did somebody slip something in your drink? What's going on here? But here's the best part and why it pertains to this story. This experience melted away the illusion of certainty and revealed the myriad tapestry of possibilities that existed all around me. I'd never seen it before. But without that certainty, with this novel experience, all of a sudden, there were all these new possibilities all around me. The possibility that there's more to me than my body and my mind. The possibility that I can have a direct relationship with the divine. The possibility that humans are in fact profoundly alike, belonging to a single family and descending from common ancestors, possessing the same basic qualities and needs and tools. The possibility that I don't actually know much of anything. That was a liberating possibility because the weight of certainty is oppressive. Having to know is oppressive. And suddenly I was freed from this. And so in the months that followed, I allowed this novel experience to continue to unfold, and I watched in wonder. Bliss, gratitude, and total acceptance became my default state. Whoa, crazy. And I continued to receive these messages that I got in that first moment when I was asking questions and I was getting answers. The guidance continued in the form of intuitions, synchronicities, and sometimes even explicit messages. And all the while, I felt that there was this guiding presence that I was co-inhabiting space with. I was sharing space with something else that was within me, but it wasn't me. It was talking to me from somewhere deep and wise. And so I started calling this presence the Great Teacher. That's just my name for her. And she does have a feminine character as well, but she's assured me that she goes by many names, and the name doesn't really matter. What matters is that she is accessible to each and every one of us. And so only a few months earlier, I would have said that all of these things were impossible, they were crazy, that they were the symptoms of a delusional mind. But with the illusion of certainty melted away, now I only saw possibilities. What if I am tapping into a wiser, more enlightened part of myself? What if I'm being guided by some sage presence? What if I am talking to God? I'm not saying that's what I was doing, but it's a possibility, right? So instead of dismissing these experiences, I leaned in. I said to the Great Teacher, "Oh, Great Teacher, show me the way and I will take the steps." And each time I asked, the Great Teacher responded, maybe not in the way I expected her to, maybe not right away, but inevitably, she would show me the way. And so I continued. I continued to lean into this. And for years, I went on. What I learned is that the shift from certainty to possibility was a pivotal turning point in my life and a massive learning experience. It was a catalyst for meaningful, lasting changes in my perspective, in my personality, and in my overall quality of experience. The way I felt about my life was suddenly euphoric. I was like, wow, I'm so lucky. I'm so grateful. How did I not see this all along? So I would suggest that without possibility, growth and transformation are virtually impossible. Now, here's a question for you. Who here understands quantum mechanics? Well, according to the physicist Richard Feynman, if you think you understand quantum mechanics, you don't understand quantum mechanics. So that was a trick question because nobody understands it. But what we do know is when you are studying subatomic particles, they exist in a probability cloud in multiple positions at the same time. They call it superposition. And it's only when an observer is present that the probability cloud collapses into finite particles with a position in space, right? Well, certainty is kind of like the observer effect in quantum mechanics. It collapses the possibility cloud into a single definitive reality that is at the exclusion of all other possibilities, right? Confidence is good. Conviction is good, but absolute certainty collapses all possibilities into a single reality. So since this experience in 2013, I've been hanging out in the possibility cloud, my friends, increasing my awareness of what's possible and trying to stay open to even the most outlandish and nonsensical possibilities. Which brings us to the center of love. Do you remember this thing that happened a while back? I think it was called the COVID pandemic. Folks remember that one? Yeah.
Heard about it.
Yeah, I heard about it. Yeah. Hard to tell it happened though now when you look at the world. But so as you can imagine, I spent a lot of time conversing with the Great Teacher during this period, during the pandemic. And like all of us, I was trying to make sense of what was happening in the world. And as always, the Great Teacher guided me along, helped me see how fear has been weaponized and used to divide, isolate, and turn people against each other. And COVID wasn't the first time this had happened, but it was definitely the most hyperbolic example of fear being weaponized and used against us. And I felt deeply disturbed by all of this, by all the events that were playing out, by the fact that friends and family were no longer speaking to each other over personal decisions about health. I was disturbed. And so I did what I had been doing for the last several years. And I said, Great Teacher, show me how I can help. What can I do? Even if it's small, to improve things, to bring people back together, to counteract the power of fear that is being used against us. What can I do, great teacher? And the great teacher, this time she was explicit. It wasn't an intuition. It was like a straight up message. It was like, build me a church. I was like, stop messing with me, man. Come on, I can't do that. Who am I? What is this? Tell me for real, how can I make a difference? And the great teacher wasn't joking. Every time I asked, she kept telling me the same thing. And she proceeded to give me very detailed instructions on what this community would represent, what it would stand for, even how it would be organized and the structure of our gatherings. And so I was like writing all this stuff down, like, okay, slow down, slow down, slow down. So I had all this information, I had my marching orders, and I knew that it was possible because I was in that place of possibility, but I still procrastinated. I did not want to do this. I don't have time. I've got all these things and I don't have any training, and I didn't even grow up with religion. I have no religious background. Why am I going to start a church? Well, the great teacher said, I know that this sounds daunting, but all you have to do is start. As soon as you start, I will start sending you helpers and allies. So that took a little bit of the pressure off. And it allowed me to actually speak about these instructions to my beautiful wife and my friend Cressa. And that was my biggest mistake, because as soon as I spoke it out loud, now it's real. And Cressa, my friend, would not let me get away without, every time I talked to her, what's going on? What's going on with the church? What's going on with the church? So eventually, I got off my ass. Pardon my French. I am French, so I'm allowed to say that. And I started working towards it. And so pretty quickly, possibilities started to materialize and become concrete. We had 3 visioning sessions with a group of founding members. And throughout that visioning session, we reviewed all the material that I had kind of channeled or produced, and we tweaked it, and we came up with new things, and we came up with a name, the Center of Love, which is fantastic because I know the word church sometimes can be a little triggering to people. Maybe you have some post-religious traumatic disorder, and some of these words are loaded with connotations that you're not really a big fan of. So we went away from church, we went center. The great teacher's fine, but center, church, doesn't matter to her. As long as what we're doing is in the spirit of love, she's happy. So after 3 visioning sessions, small group of us, we founded the Center of Love in the spring of 2022. We held our first gathering in my living room on May 15th of that year. And then on January 7th, 2024, we outgrew my humble living room and we started renting a space in a Scouts Canada building in Victoria that can hold like 80, 90 people. So room to grow. And the great teacher has been making good on her promise. I did my part. And as you can see, she keeps sending people. She keeps sending people. And they're not by mistake. The folks who are being called to this community are being called for a reason. And the people who show up and it's not for them, there's a reason for that too, and we love them too. But the folks who are here and who are dedicated and who are making this their community are exactly the right people that we need. And so I have great faith in the great teacher. I know that she's not going to lead us astray. And so our community has been steadily growing. A few months ago, we became an incorporated society in BC, the first step to becoming a full-fledged nonprofit. So step 1 accomplished, yes. And then a little after that, one of our cherished members, Tara Wild, she mentioned that her friends in West Vancouver were curious about the center and maybe thinking about doing something similar. So we got on a Zoom call. It was love at first sight. So many synchronicities, so many similarities and parallels and things that intersect. And so here we are, the experiment, the trial run to see if this is what you folks want and if you want to do this. And what a perfect time. Easter, the time to release the old and rebirth something new. And of course, with a new birth comes infinite possibilities. Myriad branching paths, all of them potential realities. We here today are being called to take part in something new, something radical, something unprecedented. It's not this ossified, calcified fossil like a lot of traditional religion. This is a living, breathing, dynamic thing that flows through and between us. The spirit of love made manifest. The energy of love broadcasted from the nucleus of the heart out into the world. And you're all a part of it, my friends. Architects and co-creators. This is as much yours as it is anyone else's. Everyone here is part of this story, whether they know it or not. So, tell me, what's possible when like-hearted people connect, leverage each other, support one another, listen deeply, and honor each other? What's possible when a community gathers in love's name to work toward the goal of unifying the world? That's not a rhetorical question. I'm actually asking you folks. And after we meditate for 10 minutes, we're going to form a circle. And then we're going to turn our attention to you. And we're going to hear what you have to say. And I'm so excited to hear that. So thank you so much for being bold and brave and taking time out of your busy lives to come here on a Sunday morning. Thank you all for being here. And I look forward to connecting with you after the meditation.